First contact with the predator. Legends traveled faster than ships in the void. Entire species whispered the name of the beast in hushed tones, careful not to speak too loudly, as if the sound alone could draw it from the shadows. The galaxy knew it only as the hunter, a predator so cunning and relentless that no trap had ever held it, no army had ever bested it, and no prey had ever escaped it. The Exorkel Empire had been the first to document its existence. Battle records, shaky footage from soldiers' helmet feeds, and bloodstained transmissions told the same story. A towering creature of dark hide and sinew, moving with terrifying grace, eyes burning like molten embers. It could tear through armored troops with claws that glimmered like blades and vanish into the mist before reinforcements arrived. The hunter was no ordinary apex predator. It didn't just kill, it stalked, tested, and played with its quarry. Whole platoons vanished into jungles, their weapons scattered like toys, their command ships left unanswered. Those few who survived its hunts often returned broken, whispering only fragments. It learns, they said. It waits. It enjoys the chase. To the galaxy, the hunter was a nightmare. To the humans, it was an opportunity. The Terran vessel Odyssey was the first human ship to enter the Elter Expanse, where the hunter was last reported. The crew wasn't made up of warriors or mercenaries, but explorers, scientists, engineers, and a handful of security officers who had volunteered more out of curiosity than conquest. Humanity, still considered a young and reckless species by the Galactic Council, had a reputation for diving headfirst into dangers others avoided. Captain Miriam Vance stood on the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back as the crew displayed survey data on the holographic map. Life signs confirmed, her science officer reported. Dense biosphere, multiple apex predators, but there's something else. A reading that doesn't fit any known taxonomy. Large, moving fast. Miriam's lips thinned. Everyone on the bridge knew what that meant. They had all read the files, studied the shaky recordings. The hunter was here. Prepare an away team, she ordered. Non-lethal equipment only. We're not here to prove our firepower. We're here to learn. The aliens who monitored their transmissions laughed in disbelief. To them, humans were suicidal fools. Every attempt to capture or study the hunter had ended in slaughter. Why would these fragile primates be any different? But Miriam's crew was undeterred. The jungle world of Elter 4 was a cathedral of mist and shadow. Towering trees arched overhead, their roots twisting like serpents across the forest floor. The air was thick with the calls of unseen creatures and the distant crackle of storms. The human team moved carefully, setting up motion detectors and drone relays. Dr. Elias Reeve, the mission's lead xenobiologist, kept a calm, methodical tone as he recorded notes. Observe before engaging, he reminded his team. Every movement, every sound matters. Remember, this isn't a beast. It's a thinking predator. They didn't have to wait long. The first sign was silence. The jungle's chatter died, as if the forest itself held its breath. Then came the sound, a low growl, vibrating through the ground. From the shadows emerged a figure that towered above the team, its form a blend of raw muscle and alien grace. Its hide glistened like armor, ridged with spines that caught the faint light. Red eyes locked onto them with unblinking intensity. The hunter. The security officers raised their rifles instinctively, but Miriam's sharp gesture stopped them. Hold! No weapons unless I give the order. The hunter prowled closer, each step deliberate. It could have torn through them in seconds, yet it didn't. It circled, sniffing the air, studying them. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy's apex predator hesitated. Humans didn't run. Elias slowly crouched, pulling a sensor drone from his pack. With calm, deliberate movements, he placed it on the ground between himself and the hunter. The machine whirred to life, projecting a soft light and emitting a pulse. Instead of aiming it as a weapon, he turned it outward, showing submission rather than challenge. The hunter tilted its head. It sniffed at the device, then at Elias himself. The tension in the air thickened, every human heartbeat pounding like a drum. And then astonishingly, the beast stepped back. It didn't attack. It didn't vanish into the mist. It stood there, watching, as if waiting to see what these strange new creatures would do next. Hours later, as the humans regrouped at their landing site, the reality sank in. The hunter had seen them. It had studied them, and it had spared them. Why? One of the officers whispered. Why us, when it kills everything else? Elias looked back toward the jungle, his mind racing. He didn't have a full answer, but he knew one thing. It doesn't see us as prey. The words sent a shiver through the team. For the first time in recorded history, the hunter had chosen not to kill. And in that decision lay the beginning of something the galaxy would never forget. The hunt turns into a test. The hunter didn't vanish after its first encounter with the humans. It lingered. Day after day, the Terran team felt its presence in the shadows. Tracks twice the size of a man's boot appeared near their camp. Claw marks gouged into trees, the distant glow of red eyes at night. Yet the creature never attacked. It stalked, circled, and waited. Captain Miriam Vance recognized the pattern. It's testing us, she said quietly as the team reviewed sensor footage. This isn't a predator stalking prey. It's a game. It wants to see how we respond. Most species, Elias knew, would have fled by now. That was what the hunter expected. It thrived on fear. But humans were different. Fear didn't always send them running. It made them plan, adapt, and push back. So they prepared. The jungle became their battlefield, though not in the traditional sense. The humans didn't set out to kill the hunter. They knew that was impossible with the gear they had. Instead, they studied the environment, mapping trails, setting up clever diversions with sound emitters, and laying out sensor webs to track its movements. The first real test came on the third night. The perimeter alarm shrieked, and the camp was thrown into chaos. The hunter struck fast, tearing through equipment like it was paper, forcing the team into cover. But instead of panicking, the humans executed their plan. Drones swarmed overhead, casting bright beams to blind it. Sound emitters blasted frequencies that disrupted its charge. And then came the final maneuver. Captain Miriam triggered a trap that collapsed a section of netting weighted with debris. The hunter snarled as the improvised cage dropped onto it. For a heartbeat, they thought they had succeeded. Then the beast ripped free with a roar that shook the ground. The humans fell back, weapons raised, ready for the end. But instead of lunging, the hunter stopped. It stood just beyond the shattered netting, breathing heavily, its eyes locked on Miriam. Then, astonishingly, it stepped back into the shadows and disappeared. They had forced it to retreat. The galaxy's deadliest predator had yielded ground. "What just happened?" gasped Lieutenant Rourke, one of the security officers. Did we scare it off?" Elias shook his head slowly, awe in his voice. "Not scare. Impress. It expected us to crumble. Instead, we adapted. We survived. It's not leaving because it's afraid. It's leaving because it wants to see what we'll do next." The realization settled heavily on them all. The hunter wasn't treating them as prey anymore. It was treating them as rivals. The next few days became a strange dance between predator and explorers. Sometimes, the hunter would strike suddenly, seizing equipment or scattering their drones. Other times, it simply watched from a distance, letting itself be seen, then vanishing before anyone could react. The humans responded with patience, reinforcing their defenses, trying new tactics, and refusing to give in to fear. Each encounter left them more certain. The hunter wasn't trying to kill them. It was evaluating them. The pivotal moment came when Elias was taken. It happened during a survey run on the far edge of the jungle. Elias had gone ahead to place motion detectors, accompanied only by a single drone. One moment, the forest was quiet. The next, a massive shadow dropped from the canopy, claws flashing. The drone's feed cut off mid-scream. By the time the team arrived, Elias was gone. Panic rippled through the camp. Other species, faced with this, would have mourned the loss and retreated. But humans weren't wired that way. Miriam's decision was immediate. "We go after him," she said firmly. Her officers protested. "Captain, that thing wanted to lure us out." "Exactly," Miriam cut in. "It's a test. If we abandon Elias, we fail. If we fight for him, We prove who we are. So they hunted the hunter. The search stretched into hours. They followed broken branches, claw marks, faint traces of Elias's blood. All the while, they felt the hunter circling them, letting them know it was near. Finally, they found Elias. He was suspended in a crude snare of vines, unharmed but exhausted. The hunter stood nearby, silent, watching. The humans didn't fire. They didn't charge. Instead, they spread out in a protective circle around their comrade, cutting him free while keeping their eyes locked on the beast. The hunter growled, a low rumble that vibrated through their chests. But when Elias stumbled into Miriam's arms, the beast didn't strike. It stepped back into the mist and vanished once again. They had passed the test. Later, as Elias recovered, he explained what he had seen. "It could have killed me a dozen times," he whispered. "But it didn't. It just watched. It was waiting to see if you would come. And you did." The crew fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. The hunter wasn't just a predator. It was an intelligence, one that respected strength, resilience, and loyalty. Traits humanity had carried with them across every frontier. That night, as the team sat around the campfire, Miriam spoke the thought that was on all their minds. "It doesn't see us as prey. Not anymore." No one argued. The hunter had tested them and found something in humanity no other species had shown. Something worth sparing, something worth respecting. And somewhere, deep in the jungle, the hunter raised its head to the stars and let out a low, echoing call. The game had changed. The bond of predator and human. The galaxy had long believed that the hunter could never be tamed. It was a force of nature, a nightmare given flesh. Yet on Elter 4, something unprecedented was happening. The creature was no longer striking at random or attempting to destroy the humans' camp. Instead, it lingered at the edges of their lives, testing boundaries. Sometimes it would stalk alongside them during expeditions, vanishing when they turned to look. Other times, it left traces of its presence, fresh kills of other predators placed deliberately near their landing site, as if marking the territory it now shared with them. To the humans, it felt less like a monster watching them and more like a wary neighbor. One morning, Dr. Elias Reeve dared to take the first step towards something greater. They had tracked the hunter to a clearing where shafts of light cut through the canopy. It stood on a ridge above them, muscles taut, eyes glowing with that familiar ember-red fire. The team froze, hands hovering near their weapons, but Elias raised his hand. "Don't," he whispered. "No sudden moves." Slowly, he stepped forward, away from his team. His heart thundered in his chest, every instinct screaming at him to run, but he forced himself to stand tall. Then, with deliberate care, he lowered his weapons and spread his hands wide. "I'm not prey," he said softly, though he knew the beast didn't understand his words. "I'm not here to fight you." The hunter tilted its head. For a long moment, the jungle seemed to hold its breath. Then it descended the ridge in a fluid, silent motion, closing the gap until its massive form towered above Elias. Its breath was hot against his face. Its claws gleamed inches from his throat. And then it lowered its head. Elias froze, stunned. The beast wasn't striking. It was offering, a gesture of acknowledgement, of acceptance. With trembling hands, Elias extended his palm and touched the ridged hide of its snout. The hunter rumbled, a deep sound that vibrated through his bones. Not a growl, but something closer to approval. The team behind him watched in disbelief. Humanity's first touch of the untouchable. Word of their progress spread quickly. Their transmissions, though carefully encrypted, were intercepted by alien observers. Within days, the Galactic Council was in uproar. "They've gone mad," one counselor hissed during a broadcast. "The humans are courting death. That thing has slaughtered our finest soldiers for centuries, and they pat it like a pet." The Exorkel, who had suffered most under the hunter's wrath, demanded immediate action. "Destroy it. Destroy them, if necessary. If humanity bonds with that monster, they will unleash something the galaxy cannot contain." But the humans ignored the outrage. On Elter 4, they were too busy building trust. Training the hunter was unlike taming any creature Earth had known. It wasn't about leashes or chains. It was about respect. Captain Miriam noticed patterns first. When the humans hunted smaller game for food, the hunter often shadowed them. Instead of driving it away, they adapted, leaving a portion of their kills behind, an offering of shared sustenance. Soon, the hunter began bringing down prey of its own, dragging carcasses into the clearing as if returning the favor. Lieutenant Rourke developed a system of signals, gestures, sounds, and light pulses. To their surprise, the hunter responded, mimicking some gestures and recognizing others. With time, they could guide its movements during scouting runs, almost like commanding a fellow soldier. And when threats came, the bond deepened. A pack of razor beasts, tusked predators as long as hovercars, ambushed the team during a survey. The humans opened fire, but the beasts were relentless, circling them with snapping jaws. Then, without warning, the hunter exploded from the treeline. It tore into the razor beasts with savage fury, claws flashing, teeth sinking deep. But its attacks weren't wild, they were coordinated. Each strike opened space for the humans to regroup. Each roar drove the pack back toward the humans' line of fire. Together, human and hunter turned the tide, forcing the razor beasts to scatter into the jungle. When the dust settled, the team stood side by side with the beast. Blood dripped from its claws, but none of it was human. Captain Miriam lowered her rifle and gave a single nod. The hunter, astonishingly, mirrored the motion, an unspoken pact sealed in battle. But not everyone welcomed the alliance. As the humans continued their work, a fleet appeared in orbit. Exorcale warships, bristling with weapons, demanded the humans abandon the hunter or face annihilation. This creature has killed billions, their commander snarled over the comms. You dare consort with it? You endanger us all. Surrender it to us, or we will reduce your colony to ash. Miriam stood firm. We didn't tame it with chains or cages. We earned its respect. That's something you never tried. If you think we'll hand it over, you don't understand humanity at all. The Exorcale responded with threats of immediate invasion. On the ground, as the humans braced for the coming storm, the hunter prowled restlessly, its red eyes burning brighter than ever. It seemed to sense the danger gathering beyond the skies. For the first time, the humans weren't wondering whether the hunter would attack them. They were wondering how it would fight beside them. That night, Elias sat near the fire, watching the beast crouched at the edge of the camp. Its gaze was fixed upward, toward the stars where enemy fleets loomed. He whispered the truth that was dawning on them all. It's not our predator anymore. It's our ally. And in the silence of the jungle, the hunter's low rumble answered, as if to agree. Humanity and the hunter unleashed. The Exorcale fleet descended like a storm of fire. Dozens of warships pierced the atmosphere, their cannons glowing, their landing craft streaking toward the surface. The ultimatum was over. The humans had refused to surrender the hunter, and now the Exorcale intended to annihilate them both. On the ground, Captain Miriam Vance rallied her crew. Makeshift barricades lined the perimeter of their camp. Drones hovered, scanning the skies. Weapons were charged, but their numbers were pitiful compared to the armies arrayed against them. At the edge of the jungle, the hunter prowled. Its red eyes burned like twin coals, reflecting the glow of incoming fire. The humans had no words to command it, no leash to restrain it. And yet, as the first wave of Exocale troops thundered into the clearing, the hunter let out a roar so deep it rattled the very earth, and lunged into battle at humanity's side. The Exorcale were fierce warriors, clad in powered armor, their rifles spitting searing bolts of plasma. But they had never faced an enemy like this. The hunter moved through their ranks like a living blade. Claws ripped through alloy, jaws crushed helmets. Its sheer size and speed turned the battlefield into chaos. But what stunned the Exorcale most wasn't the hunter's fury. It was the humans who fought beside it. Miriam directed her people with calm precision, using drones to illuminate targets and sound emitters to signal the beast. When Exorcale flanked from the right, Rourke fired flares, drawing the hunter's attention. With a thunderous leap, it crushed the enemy line, scattering them like toys. When plasma cannons rained from above, Elias triggered a sound pulse, guiding the beast into cover while humans returned fire from the opposite side. Predator and primates moved as one. For centuries, the hunter had fought alone, feared by all. Now, for the first time, it was part of a pack. The battle raged across the jungle. At one point, an Exarchel mech, towering, bristling with cannons, crashed through the tree line. Its heavy guns locked on a human position, ready to unleash devastation. "Hunter!" Miriam shouted, pointing. The beast needed no further command. It charged, weaving through explosions, leaping onto the mech's chassis. With claws and teeth, it tore into the machine, ripping cables and plating. The mech stumbled, collapsing into the earth as the hunter roared its triumph. Humans poured fire into the wreckage, finishing the kill together. The galaxy had always seen the hunter as a terror. Now, fighting in unison, it became something greater, a symbol of what humanity could achieve through respect instead of fear. In orbit, the Exarchel commander watched the feed in disbelief. His troops, trained to slaughter, were faltering. Not against superior numbers, not against advanced technology, but against humans and the very monster they had sworn to destroy. "This is impossible," he snarled. "It cannot ally with them." Yet the evidence was undeniable. Each time the humans pressed forward, the hunter supported them. Each time the hunter struck, the humans covered its flanks. Together, they were unstoppable. The final push came at dusk. The Exarchel brought their heaviest weapon to bear, a siege cannon capable of leveling the entire human camp. It was dragged into position on the far ridge, guarded by elite troops. If it fired, everything below would be obliterated. The humans had no time, no firepower to stop it. But they had the hunter. Miriam met its burning gaze across the battlefield. No words passed between them, only a shared understanding. "Go," she whispered. The hunter bounded into the jungle, moving faster than the eye could track. The humans launched a diversionary assault, drawing fire and attention. Plasma bolts tore through the trees. Explosions shook the ground. But the beast slipped through the chaos like a shadow. Moments later, a roar split the air. The siege cannon crew turned too late as the hunter crashed upon them, claws shredding armor, tail smashing weapons aside. With a final, deafening strike, it toppled the massive weapon into the ravine. The humans surged forward, finishing the remaining troops. The Exarchel line broke. Defeat turned to rout. When the smoke cleared, silence settled over the battlefield. The humans stood battered but alive. And beside them, bloodied but unbroken, crouched the hunter. Elias stepped forward, his voice quiet but certain. "It fought with us, not as a beast, not as an enemy, as one of us." Miriam placed a hand on its ridged hide. The hunter lowered its massive head, rumbling softly, a gesture of acknowledgement, of belonging. Above them, the Exarchel fleet began to retreat, unwilling to face the alliance they had witnessed. The galaxy would soon know. Humanity had done what no species had dared. They had tamed the untamable. Weeks later, when transmissions of the battle spread, the Galactic Council was thrown into chaos. Some demanded sanctions. Others whispered of new possibilities. But none could deny the truth. The humans had changed the balance of power forever. The hunter, once a symbol of fear, had become something new, a living testament to humanity's unique strength. Not their weapons, not their numbers, but their ability to see the potential for partnership where others saw only monsters. On L-Turf 4, as the humans rebuilt their camp, the hunter lingered at its edge. No longer a shadow in the jungle. No longer a nightmare whispered in fear. It had chosen its pack, and together, predator and human gazed into the stars, ready for whatever came next.